Francis बोल बातें कुछ खट्टी कुछ मीठी.
Good morning. Welcome to Francis Bowl, Baate Kuch Khatti Kuch Meethi. This is RJ Fronia and RJ Shwetha presenting to you a fresh episode of Random Rap. Last episode में तो हमने Francis के बारे में बात किया था, but today we will be talking about Hyderabad. And we have among us our guest for today, Gopala Krishna.
Gopal is a cinematographer who studied communication management in Maika, Ahmedabad. He has worked on a number of feature films and assisted renowned director Honor for the national award-winning film I Am. His short film Shehre-e-Ghazal, based on the Gujarat riots, won him an award for the best director at the Vikram Sarabhai International Art Festival. An avid reader and a traveler, Gopal is now in Hyderabad with an initiative not very new to Hyderabad but with a twist.
Welcome to our show, Gopal. So, Hyderabad Trails has been creating a lot of buzz in the city for the past few months. We have heard that the night-long Ramzan walks went viral on Facebook and Sufiana Trails were covered by Deccan Chronicle. Would you like to share your experiences?
Sure, Fronia. Hyderabad Trails has been a phenomenal experience so far. The walks actually started as an experiment. I was researching Charminar for one of my documentary films, and when I started exploring the old city, I was completely enchanted by the tremendously rich heritage of the old city. I started taking my friends out on these walks, and some of them started telling me that I'm really good at this and I should be doing this more and more, and I should be doing this on a bigger level. So I always had this idea at the back of the mind that I could share this experience of exploring the old city with more and more people. And Ramzan was approaching, and I saw that Ramzan walks were happening in Delhi, food walks. Bangalore had Ramzan food walks, and Calcutta had them. Most of the big cities in the country were doing Ramzan food walks and night walks of some sort or the other. Interestingly enough, there were no such walks being organized in Hyderabad. And Hyderabad being the city of the Nizams with a lot of heritage and a lot of cultural foods and so much to explore, especially during the Ramzan, I felt the need to organize a food walk during the Ramzan season. And I just put up the event on Facebook, and like you said, the response has been overwhelming. There were so many people who registered for that walk that I had to actually organize a series of walks every weekend to accommodate all the people who had registered. So it was the people who demanded the walks. I mean, I just thought I would just do one or two walks, but the response was so overwhelming that I was actually forced to do a series of walks. The walks were a lot of fun. They were a beautiful experience for everybody, for me as a guide, and for everybody who participated in the walks. They had an amazing experience. So while on the walks, I also started experimenting with the timings, with the duration, with the routes, with the kind of elements that I was using in the walk. I had a walk called the Iftar walk, which started at 6 and ended at 8. Iftar is usually the meal that they have after they break the fast. And I had another walk called Shab-e-Ramzan. Shab in Persian means night. So this walk started at 10 and ended exactly at midnight. It was a different experience to walk through Charminar during the midnight hours. It's a very different experience to walk in Charminar during the twilight hours in the evening. It's a very different experience to walk in the wee hours of the morning. They're all very, very different experiences altogether. So eventually, I experimented with a walk called Sehri walk. So Sehri is the first meal that they have, or the last meal that they have before they start the fast, and it's usually done before the sunset. My idea was to actually start a walk in the midnight hours and end it with Sehri in the early morning twilight hours in the old city. So this walk started at 10 in the night and ended at 6 a.m., which would eventually extend till 7 or 8 in the morning. And was a crazy experience, spending a whole night in the old city, walking through the lanes and by-lanes and experiencing everything from heritage to food, to bazaars, to bangle markets, to perfume markets. So the Sehri walk was an experiment, and people loved the experience. When I initially conceived a walk that would start in the night and end in the morning, extending over 8 hours, I was not really sure if I could pull it off. But I was sure of one thing. I was sure that there was enough wealth in the old city to see, to experience, to hear, to taste, that 8 hours was not sufficient. So when I organized the first Sehri walk, about 45 people turned up, out of which almost 40 people stayed back till 7 in the morning. So the whole night we were roaming in the old city. We would we would stop very frequently. Whenever we'd get tired, we would try out a lot of dishes at a lot of places along the way. And the whole Charminar is one huge bazaar with a lot of shops, a lot of, every place, every corner had a food stall which was dishing out all sorts of exotic foods, all sorts of delicious and yummy foods. So that was a beautiful experience. I incorporated a lot of storytelling into it, and also a lot of games and interactions and conversations. So that turned out to be a very beautiful experience.
That sounds great. But if you know, Telangana already has a tourism trail for the tourists here. What makes Hyderabad Trails different from any of these heritage walks?
The heritage walks, which are organized by the tourism department, are very, very good. I actually did all the 4 of them. There are 4 walks that are organized by the heritage department. They are all very well researched and very well laid out. They're beautiful walks, and I personally went through all the 4 of them. They're also guided by expert guides. However, my walks are different in the sense that I don't just do heritage walks, I also incorporate a lot of other elements into my walks. I like experimenting, so I try to incorporate elements of storytelling, elements of music, which I already have done in Ramzan night walks and Sufiana. Ramzan night walks had a lot of storytelling incorporated into the walks, and Sufiana was a musical trail. So the walk had heritage and musical performances interwoven in the same walk. I'm also trying to experiment with art forms like dance, art forms like theater into my walks. So I think eventually I'd have a walk where a street theater would perform scenes at different venues along the walk, so that when you're on the walk, you get to witness a scene at each of the venues along the trail. So at the end of the walk, you would have seen the complete play. So that's one of the things on my mind right now, and I'm working towards it. So in my walks, it's not just the heritage, it's not just what you get to see, but it's also a complete experience of all the senses. So it's also a food walk. We stop at a lot of places in between to savor a lot of chosen and exquisite local dishes. We also stop at a lot of places to interact with each other, to have conversations, to share stories, and to discuss our own perspectives about the heritage of the city. So these are things which sets apart my walk from the heritage walk that is done by the tourism department.
Well, seems like Hyderabad Trails and all the walks that you've conducted have had a lot of great experiences in them. Let me ask you, what drives you to do these trails?
That's a very interesting question. I think I am an explorer by heart, and wherever I go, I explore. And I'm also a communicator in a way because I like sharing. I'm a filmmaker, so it's all about sharing my stories with a wider audience. The heritage trails and the food trails and the nature trails, they're just another way, another avenue to reach out to people, to communicate, to share my stories with people. So one of the things that has struck me about Hyderabad when I initially came here was the extent of apathy and neglect towards our heritage. So before coming to Hyderabad, I have lived in cities like Bombay, Ahmedabad, Bangalore. Now, Ahmedabad, for example, is a classic example of conserving the architecture of a city. Ahmedabad has the UNESCO World Heritage City tag to it. So in the last 20 years, there's been a lot of concerted efforts to preserve and promote and celebrate the traditional culture, architecture, and otherwise of the old city of Ahmedabad. Thanks to which today it's a beautiful experience to take a heritage walk in the olden part of Ahmedabad, because they've preserved all the buildings, all the havelis and all the poles and all of this wonderful architectural heritage of the city. I've come to Hyderabad, and Hyderabad happens to be a city that I'm closely connected with because I hail from Vizag and I grew up in Vizag, and this used to be my capital city throughout. And we would come here during holidays, summers, visiting relatives, and so that way I grew up thinking of Hyderabad as my capital, and I had this close connection with the city. And the cultural and the architectural, especially, the architectural heritage of the city is tremendous. It's very, very rich. In fact, it is much, much richer than any of these other cities. Ahmedabad, I think, pales in comparison to the kind of heritage that we have in Hyderabad. Just imagine a city that has gone through so many dynasties, so many kinds of rulers, and so many distinct styles of architecture and cultural heritage. We had Kakatiyas, we had Bahmanis, we had Qutub Shahis, we had the Nizams, and then we also had the Telugus. So it's a melting pot of culture, both architecture and traditional. But it's very, very disheartening to see this heritage being neglected. If you take a walk in the old city, you can see the extent of neglect towards these heritage monuments. Beautiful palaces, dilapidated and ready to crumble any day. In fact, in the last 6 months, there have been so many monuments which were pulled down, and I've seen a couple of monuments go in front of my own eyes. I mean, in the sense that after I came to Hyderabad about a year ago, a couple of these monuments have been pulled down. And it's a very sad thing to see the monumental heritage of the city being torn apart. If they're not crumbling by themselves, people, builders and vested interests are actively trying to pull them down. So with the kind of architectural heritage that the city has, I think we need to preserve it. Definitely need to do something about preserving the heritage, because the way it is going in the next 10 years, there'll be nothing left. I was listening to a talk by Mr. Debashish Naik, an architectural consultant and a heritage conservationist. He's the guy behind the success story of Ahmedabad. So for the last 20 years, he's been working in Ahmedabad trying to conserve the architectural heritage of Ahmedabad. And I was listening to his talk, and he spoke about how his first job was in Hyderabad. He came to Hyderabad 20 years ago, and his job was to conserve the city. And then the response was not very good, so he moved to Ahmedabad. He had a choice of opting for one of these two cities, and with a lot of disappointment, he says that he opted for Ahmedabad because he was not very happy with the kind of response that he got from officials in Hyderabad. And he says in the last 20 years, Lad Bazaar is completely gone. In the last 20 years, a lot of Havelis are completely gone. The Moti Mahal Road is completely gone. So all of this happened in the last 20 years. And Hyderabad's loss is Ahmedabad's gain. Doing these heritage walks is also a way of connecting with the city. It's a way of celebrating the heritage that we have. It's a way of making people realize the richness of heritage that we have inherited from the people who gave us this city and ruled this city before us. And it's very important that we stay connected with our history as people living in this city.
Thank you for your informative words, Gopal. I'm sure your thought-provoking initiative and Hyderabad Trails would have surely inspired our listeners to ponder about the rich heritage of Hyderabad that is being left to neglect.
Thank you, Fronia.
It's time for us to wrap the show up. Thank you, Gopal, for your time. We'll catch you back on the next episode. For the next episode, we have Gopal talking about his next initiatives. Stay tuned to Random Rap and Francis Bowl. This is RJ Shwetha and Fronia signing off. Do follow us on Facebook and don't forget to like Hyderabad Trails too.